Students, welcome to Shorapsa's classes. This is Himanshu. So in today's lecture, we will be talking about a topic from international economics. So for this, allow me to take another page. So I will first write down the question. This is going to be question number 2. So it is given, do you agree with the view that it is given, do you agree with the view that Heckscher-Ohlin theorem is an extension of Ricardian theory of trade? So the question is given as, do you agree with the view that Heckscher-Ohlin so we need to state whether Heckscher-Ohlin theorem is an extension of Ricardian theory of trade. So we have to state whether this is an extension of Ricardian theory of trade. So now we'll simply answer this question. So we know that is the Heckscher-Ohlin theorem, known as modern theory of comparative advantage, is not just an extension of Ricardian theory of comparative advantage. So we know Heckscher-Ohlin theorem, which we will denote by HO theorem. We know it is known as the modern theory of it is known as the modern theory of comparative advantage. So it is not just an extension of Ricardian theory, but it is an improved version of Ricardian theory. It is an improved version of Ricardian theory. So we know the Heckscher-Ohlin theorem, except the Heckscher-Ohlin theorem does what? It accepts what it accepts? The international trade is based on differences in comparative cost, but attempts to explain the factor which account for such differences. So he accepts the fact that international trade comes from what? It comes from the differences in comparative cost. So except it comes from differences in comparative costs. He basically goes on in explaining so Heckscher-Ohlin model basically accept the differences in comparative cost is the reason for international trade, but he goes on explaining the factors which account for such differences. So what he does, he basically explains the factors that are responsible for such changes. So he goes on and explaining the factors that are responsible for such changes. Now it radically differs from Ricardian theory by assuming that production function for different goods use factors of production in different proportion. So there is one strict contrast from Ricardian theory in Heckscher-Ohlin model, that is, in Ricardian theory there is a contrast in this theory which comes from the fact that it assumes that production function production functions for different goods use factors of production in different proportion. Use factor of production for different purposes, for different proportion but the production function for any good is similar to in two or more trading nations, but production function is similar, but the production function is similar to what? It is similar to one or two or more trading nation. On these assumptions, differences in comparative cost in countries can be traced back to factor endowment. The model shows that a country which has an abundance of, for example, labor, will specialize in the production and export of goods which relatively intensive in the use of labor, and import goods which are relatively intensive in the use of country's scarce factor of production, that is land or capital. So the model basically shows what? This Heckscher-Ohlin theorem, according to this model, shows what? The model shows that a country which has an abundance of, for example, labor, suppose a country has abundance of labor, it will specialize in the production and export of goods. That country will specialize or export of goods which are relatively intensive in the use of labor. In the use of labor. So from here we know, and they will import the goods which are relatively intensive in the country's scarce factor of production, and they will import the good which relatively intensively in use of country's scarce resources. Or factor of production. In this case it is land. So the question, now we'll get back to the question. It said, do you agree with the view that Heckscher-Ohlin model is an extension of Ricardian theory? So the answer is, it is not just an extension but an improvement of Ricardian theory. It explains the reason why differences in comparative advantage arrive in the first place which determine the international trade. So he explained the factors which cause the differences in comparative advantage, and he said on Heckscher-Ohlin model, this model talked about the intensity of the factors which they use. It determines which one going to be imported and which one going to be exported. So it is not just an extension but an improvement over Ricardian theory. So I hope you guys have understood it. If you still have any query or doubt, you can simply WhatsApp me on this number, which is 9836793076, or you can also go to our website, which is www.saurabhsirsclasses.com. There you will find a lot of other videos like this, and you will also get to see a lot of other materials which are needed for different entrance exam. So thank you for watching this video and have a nice day ahead.